What should you absolutely not do at a wedding? My uncle Rob got married at the same place to two different women about 15 years apart. My father says, "Hey Rob, after the third time do you get your own parking space or something?" The bride's family were least impressed. Awesome joke, horrible timing. Getting stupidly drunk and lifting up the bride's skirt while the groom is going for the garter thing on her leg. Puking all over the DJ soundboard and in his bag. Almost starting a fist fight with childhood friends. My friend Jorge did all this at my buddy's wedding. It's all on tape. Do not bring up the subject of the groom's ex-wife, especially in a speech. I witnessed a terrible best man speech where he basically bashed the groom's prior marriage and said that he hoped this one turned out better. It was a truly painful speech. Have a ridiculously expensive wedding at a resort and expect all guests to front the cost. My wife and I were invited to a couple's wedding in Jamaica. The cost per person was $1,000 for 4 days, not including food or airfare, during a busy tourist season. It was also a themed wedding, and not a fun theme like Renaissance garb, but some kind of Italian clothing where everyone had to match. You had to show up to some place, get fitted for the style, and buy the suit or dress. For a guy it was about $350, but depending on the women's size, up to $1,200 for a dress. I have no idea how much a bridesmaid or usher had to pay. This was just to be a guest. We declined, along with a majority of those invited. The bride gave everyone a hard time, especially because the $1,000 person was only if some minimum purchased was reached. The fact we wouldn't pay meant others would be forced to pay more. I just didn't have the estimated $5,000 plus time off work to go. They had the wedding anyway, but out of several hundred they planned for, 30 came. The groom had to change his best man twice because his first two couldn't pay the steep fees required. This was flaunted as well. Now we know who our real friends are. Marriage lasted 7 months. I forgot why they split up. True story. Groom had a previous fiancée who died suddenly and accidentally before they could get married. Very sad. Tragic. She was a sweet girl and everyone loved her. One of those whole town turned out for the funeral sort of things. Anyway, fast forward a few years, and groom has met a new girl. She's a good person, but she's not from the small town that the former fiancé was from. And everyone sort of already has it out for her. The new girl is big city, has a little edge to her. Old girl, small town girl next door. No matter what, the new girl will never ever be as good as the old girl. So, at the wedding, the sister of the groom, who is a bridesmaid, offers a toast in remembrance of the dead fiancé. It was among the least classy, shocking things I had ever seen, and the sister was absolutely clueless about what she'd done. Long story short, don't ever talk about the bride or groom's exes, be they saints, sinners, living or dead. The wedding day is about the couple, and not their past relationships. My mother-in-law stood up at my wedding reception and said this marriage between Henry and what's her name is never going to last. I am what's her name. Don't do that. I'm still angry 13 years later. That sounds like a great way to ensure that your son's marriage is going to last. I mean, he still can't divorce you without feeling like a tool when his mom says "I told you so." Give a rude toast insulting the bride or groom. When they are exchanging the rings, don't stand up, dressed as Sauron and say "but they were, all of them, deceived, for another ring was made," whilst putting on a ring too. In my whole life I have never wanted to do something as bad as I now want to do this. Grill the bride and groom about when they are having children. I'm paying for your drinks, is it that hard to just say congratulations? Also wanna add, show up if you didn't RSVP said you weren't coming. And more importantly, do not bring a date if your invite didn't say and guest. If you really think your new boyfriend of 6 whole weeks should be invited to your second cousin's big day, ask the couple before assuming and just showing up with another person. Organize a wager amongst the guests. They can bet how many weeks the marriage will last. Side bets with who's going to cheat first are included. Make sure everyone has a chance to bet, including the bride and groom. Seems a bit unfair that the bride and groom are allowed to bet. I once photographed a wedding and during the family photographs with the bride and groom, The bride's mother and father were put on opposite sides because they were divorced and not behaving. The mother was drunk and during the photo she was yelling over the heads of the bride and groom, insulting her ex-husband. The bride was near tears and we had to stop taking pictures until they could get the mother to calm down. It was the last wedding I ever photographed. If you are a bride or groom, don't make a scene. It will be what nearly everyone remembers about your wedding if you do. My wife and I had a small ceremony with just our parents and my sister and her husband. We were in a small dining room for the reception and the AC had broken earlier in the day. They had repaired it in time for dinner, but it was taking a while to cool down. The parents started getting ornery, but some strong drinks later we were all laughing, dancing, and sweating up a storm. Talking with the family later, they were all surprised that my wife or I didn't pitch a huge fit about the temperature. They were pleased too, as it would have been the only hitch in an otherwise awesome day. On the other hand, my sister and her husband were married and had a cousin announce her pregnancy over the microphone after dinner. My sister tried to ask her quietly to just leave, but she made a scene before doing so. Then the groom's best man got into a fight with his fiancée and she tried to drive off crying but backed into a tree. She was sober. The fiancé was belligerently drunk and threatening to fight people to get him outside to cool off. So the groom tossed a bucket of ice water on him. Despite that, rest of the wedding, reception, and day being fine, that is all people remember. Drink a quart of whiskey before the ceremony, refuse to put on a shirt during the ceremony and then sit in your car and blast techno the whole time because you were asked to leave. Someone did this at a wedding I was at on Saturday. Never stop the ceremony to propose to your girlfriend. Sure, you'll have free pictures and video of it, but everyone will be peer to forever. Generally announcing anything is a pretty dumb idea. A cousin announced her pregnancy at my sister's wedding over the microphone during the reception. After she got off the microphone, my sister asked her to leave. I attended a wedding for a friend a couple summers ago. His best man, who was extremely intoxicated, got up to give his best man speech. We were all nervous about it already, but when he blurted out, "You know, me and your wife, we have a past." No, dear God, abort. Me and some friends were camping on the lake for the weekend of a wedding and one of them didn't pack nice pants or a belt. He wore a dress shirt that he apparently dropped in the road while unloading our stuff because we found it hanging on the outhouse the next morning. He then proceeded to get drunk the night before the wedding, run straight for the lake and trip over a stump, smashing his face into a fence post. So for the wedding he showed up with a shoestring belt, dirty shirt, a massive black eye, and on top of that he accidentally brought 2 dates to the wedding. Don't do any of these things. That being said, I'm glad he did. Become a drunk enough adult to the point where you start making weird comments to underage girls. I had a bad experience as an underage girl. If you are a bride, don't hold any babies. They are going to crap, pee, vomit, bleed, cry all over you. Babies aren't supposed to bleed. I think you're holding babies wrong. Anything that makes you the center of attention. This is about the couple's day and nobody else's. You want to propose to your girlfriend? Save it for the jumbotron. Want to give a clever butthole speech and then strip off your tear-away clothes and go streaking? Save it for graduation. Dying of a heart attack? Just sit in a corner and at least try to pretend you are British and slip off your mortal coil quietly and with dignity. For the heart attack, I mean, it's the least you can do. You're already going to ruin the mood. The least you can do is do so quietly. At my brother's wedding, the bride's sister, the maid of honor, threw a huge freaking tantrum and put the bride's veil in the bathroom trash can right before the ceremony was supposed to start. So, there's that. True story here, folks. I'm sad I'm commenting so late because this will probably get buried. Don't bring random not significant partners to your friend's wedding. When I got married, one of our groomsmen asked to bring the girl he had recently started dating, a real beast of a woman. We said okay. She got so drunk at the reception and managed to sneak into almost every picture our photographer got. She was loud. She was smoking the whole time. Just generally very annoying. The real kicker is, a few years later, long after they had broken up, our friend bumped into her brother. He asked how she was doing. Brother's response? Not good, man. She's in jail for life. She murdered our mother, and that is how I came to have a murderer in my wedding photos. Don't be late, and if you are, don't get mad if they carried on without you. My BFF's mother told me her wedding had a strict start time. She kept to it, as she and her husband were leaving, a few aunts were just walking in. LOL. Don't be late, and if you are, don't get mad if they carried on without you. Yup, you only wait for 3 people: the bride, the groom, and whoever's marrying them. The rest miss what they miss. Instead of untying the little bag of birdseed and showering the bride and groom, toss the whole thing and have it land in the bride's cleavage. I was a kid and didn't know the tradition. No apology needed for that kind of accuracy. When the minister says if anyone knows of any reason these two should not be married, speak now or forever hold your peace. Don't roll 2d20s on a wooden pew. It echoes terribly loud when no one is talking. Say frick or goddang in a best man speech when my wife's Christian family, including a pastor, is in attendance. My best man started his speech with goddang man. It's your fricking day, man. It's your fricking day. Who knew he could say so many wrong things in one sentence? I learned the hard way. Don't frick with the cake. I was 6 years old, for Christ's sake, and that didn't stop the bride from despising me ever since. I still hear about fricking with the cake to this day. You shouldn't have touched the wedding cake then, you little bastard. Propose to your girlfriend while you're in someone else's wedding reception. You, sir, are a douchebag if you do this. I was at a wedding where someone did this outside the church. They didn't even wait until the reception. Don't stand at the door with a brown paper bag. Hold said bag next to each guest's hand and bar everyone darker than the bag from entering. I'm a professional wedding DJ and I've seen things go on behind the scenes. From the guest's perspective and the bride and groom's perspective. Bride and grooms, the day of your wedding is not your planning day. Stop giving instructions and let your coordinators and vendors take care of it. You being a Bridozilla or Godzilla stresses you out and makes everyone's day horrible. Don't leave your guests for 2 or more hours while you take pictures in the sunset. Don't think you can treat your vendors and guests like slaves just because it's your special day. Don't complain that everyone is not having fun when you're both just sitting there and not encouraging your guests to have fun. Don't invite guests just because you want gifts. This usually ends up in having no gifts at all. Had a bride invite 300 guests in hopes of getting gifts. She barely knew them and received 20 gifts. Don't spend too much time with one guest and seclude all your other guests. Guests, if you're the brother, uncle, whatever, don't assume you have authority. As vendors, coordinators, DJs have already discussed things with the bride and groom. No, we can't play 20 more songs because that requires to pay 40 people worth of staff because of your drunk butt. It's up to the bride and groom to extend the time they choose to pay for. You're at a wedding, don't be on your phone 24/7. Why did you come? Do not disrupt the bride and groom's dinner. They've been up since 5 in the morning and taking pictures the entire day, greeting and not having any time to themselves. Be conscious of what you do and let them be peaceful for 20 minutes. Unless you're a professional singer and the bride and groom have asked you to sing. Don't ask for the mic. Don't ever ask for the mic. If you request a song and the DJ doesn't play it, chances are it's in the bride and groom's do not play list. There are other things, but this stuff is pretty basic. I feel applies to most brides and grooms as well as their guests. Take a nuclear crap in the bathroom of the bridal suite, where the newlyweds will spend their first night of married life together, an hour before the ceremony. Oh, and having a nap on the giant bed too, without making the sheets. My wife still hasn't forgiven you, Adam. This is exactly the reason why my fiance and I have told no one where we are staying for our first night. If you're the father of the bride, don't bring up in the speech that you thought your daughter was a lesbian for X amount of years. This happened at my so's cousin's wedding and was awkward for everyone in the vicinity. Don't call out the groom's mentally handicapped sister for not being dressing up. This happened at my wedding, and people didn't realize that it was just a battle to get her there in the first place because she doesn't like large crowds of people. A good chunk of our guests publicly shamed her for how she was dressed, and that ruined the whole event for my husband. If your sibling is getting married and you fly in for the wedding, Do not refuse to take family pictures. You are family and you should take pictures. After you are forced to be and take pictures by your father who has to tell you to be part of the family, don't say the following: "That was torturous," or "I frickin' hate weddings," in front of your siblings' new in-laws. You will look like a brat and like your father and mother, the new in-laws will not defend your behavior. And, finally, get off your goddamn phone. It looks really disrespectful in pictures. TLDR. Got married on Sunday and Sil was a brat. Luckily, the wedding was a huge success and she didn't ruin the day. Edit. To be clear, family pictures were before the ceremony and reception. If she didn't want to take pictures, she just didn't have to show. Edit 2. Wording. Edit 3. This just in, it seems my photographer was asked by her to take pictures of her and her aunt, which are on my proof CD. So, yeah, not anxiety, just a brat. My brother-in-law didn't smile and looked downright unhappy in all of our photos. He was in his upper teens at the time and was in the wedding party. Good thing the saying about people not caring about their wedding photos after the fact was true for us, because any formal shots that included him are no good. Things I have actually seen happen. If you are one of the very few women invited to the bachelorette party, do not drunkenly admit that you had a giant crush on the groom for years during the roast. Groom had been with his bride that entire time. Do not attempt to invite random townies to your friend's wedding that you met the night before at the bachelorette party. Do not get so drunk during the reception that the bride needs to shuffle you onto the bus to get your butt home. Do not get so drunk that someone calls an ambulance for you. Give the groom a blowjob right before the ceremony, even if it's a good way for him to calm the frick down. Also, don't mention to the bride that you did it when you see her in the receiving line. Definitely not a good idea. Sounds like he made a great choice for his best man though. Do not empty out the gigantic hollowed out watermelon serving as a fruit buffet. Put it on your head and let a drunken fruit just smeared conga line around the entire reception room when the bride's party are basically Italian mafia and staring at you in abject loathing. They were just jealous of your sweet hat and awesome conga skills. Get drunk and tell the bride that the husband cheated on her when they were dating. Did not end well for me or the groom. Dang. This will probably get buried, but I am a wedding DJ, so I see people do stupid crap all the time. A few months ago I had a best man at a wedding give the toast. During the toast he was talking about how his brother the groom had found the best girl in the world. He goes on to say that we should all be jealous because none of us will find girls even close to how amazing the bride was. Keep in mind he is saying all of this with his girlfriend of 3 years right next to him. The girlfriend burst into tears. I cut the guy's mic off, and we quickly moved to cutting the cake. Needless to say, the poor girl dumped him about 30 minutes later. At another wedding for some very redneck people, they decided it would be a great idea to light a bonfire, seeing as though their wedding was in a barn. That day it happened to be very windy and the bonfire was right next to a hayfield. It took about 10 minutes before the field started to catch on fire. So like clockwork the fire department shows up. The guys at the wedding had been drinking moonshine for about 3 hours and one of them was stupid enough to drive. As the fire truck is coming down the driveway, the guy trying to leave hits the fire truck. Hilarity ensues. I promptly packed my crap and got out of there. 7/10 was a fun wedding. Roast the groom when you give a speech. That's what the stag was for. The wedding is a show, and everybody gets to pretend that the couple is perfect and the marriage is going to last. 1. Get drunk and knock over the wedding cake. Have seen this before, and it was just terrible. 2. Sing Mustang Sally because you're a distant relative who is in an white old man band. I don't know why people do this, but I've seen it 3x now. Nobody wants to hear you sing Mustang Sally. Not the couple, not the guests, and certainly not the band that does this for a living. 3. Have a cash bar. Stand up when they ask if anyone objects and yell out, "I do," then storm up the aisle, and as soon as you reach the bride and groom, turn around and yell, "Psych." In your first dance, hire ninjas to take your bride away and then fight them off with aimed low kicks, all with Mortal Kombat music playing overhead. Don't take a red-eye flight to the site of the wedding that arrives the day of the actual wedding. You will look like absolute death in all of the beautiful fancy photography, and you'll be so exhausted the whole evening that the kind photographer will contact you afterwards, making sure you aren't suffering from deep depression. Wedding musician here. The best cringe-worthy story was a gig where the bride was known as quite the lover that is finally settling down. The best man toast focused on this as she was proclaimed as unavailable. The men were encouraged to return the key to her apartment. Man after man, head down, went up and deposited a key in a hat. It didn't get weird until the end when an elderly man with a walker slowly went up after him. A very young boy bounced up to the astonishment of most of the gathering. That was over 18 years ago. I still remember it. This is an old well-known prank that people pull. The best man hands out keys before the toast for people to bring up. My grandfather stood up and announced 5 minutes before my parents' wedding that he was A, leaving my grandmother after 35 years, offerings B, marrying my grandmother's best friend after having had an affair with her for the past 8 years, and C, wanted to invite everyone to the wedding seeing as how everyone was already together and in one place for an easy announcement. Then my mother began walking down the aisle. So basically, don't do that. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.